Welcome back, my lovely Lovecraftian too. The Book by H.P. Lovecraft. If you're thinking of that book, you'd be correct. This tale is based off of the necronomicon, the most lucrative occult object ever known to mankind. My memories are very confused. There is even much doubt as to where they begin. For at times, I feel appalling vistas of years stretching behind me, while at other times it seems as if the present moment were an isolated point in a gray, formless infinity. I am not even certain how I am communicating this message. While I know I am speaking, I have a vague impression that some strange and perhaps terrible meditation will be needed to bear what I say to the points where I wish to be heard. My identity, too, is bewilderingly cloudy. I seem to have suffered a great shock, perhaps from some utterly monstrous outgrowth of my cycles of unique, incredible experience. These cycles of experience, of course, all stem from that worm-riddled book. I remember when I found it in a dimly lighted place near the black, oily river, where the mist always swirl. That place was very old, and the ceiling-high shelves full of rotting volumes reached back endlessly through windowless inner rooms and alcoves. There were, besides, great formless heaps of books on the floor and in crude bins. And it was in one of these heaps that I found the very thing. I never learned its title, for the early pages were missing, but it fell open towards the end and gave me a glimpse of something which sent my senses reeling. There was a formula, a sort of list of things to say and do, which I recognized as something dark and forbidden, something which I had read of before in furtive paragraphs of mixed abhorrence and fascination penned by those strange, ancient delvers into the university's guarded secrets whose decaying text I love to absorb. It was a key, a guide to certain gateways and transitions of which mystics had dreamed and whispered since the race was young, and which led to freedoms and discoveries beyond the three dimensions and realms of life and matter that we know. Not for centuries had any man recalled its vital substance or known where to find it, but this book was very old indeed. No printing press, but the hand of some half-crazed monk had traced these ominous Latin phrases in unicals of awesome antiquity. I remember how the old man leered and tittered and made a curious sign with his hands. When I bore it away, he had refused to take pay for it, and only long afterward did I guess why. As I hurried home through those narrow, winding, mist-choked waterfront streets, I had a frightful impression of being stealthily followed by softly padding feet. The centuried, tottering houses on both sides seemed alive with a fresh and morbid malignity, as if some hitherto closed channel of evil understanding had abruptly been opened. I felt that those walls and overhanging gables of mildewed brick and fungus plaster and timber with fishy eye-like diamond-paned windows that leered could hardly desist from advancing and crushing me. Yet I had read only the least fragment of the blasphemous rune before closing the book and bringing it away. I remember how I read the book at last, white-faced and locked in the attic room that I had long devoted to strange searchings. The great house was very still, for I had not gone up till after midnight. I think I had a family then. Those details are very uncertain, and I know that there were many servants. Just what the year was, I cannot say, for since then I have known many ages and dimensions, and have had all my notions of time dissolved and refashioned. It was by the light of the candles that I read. I recall the relentless dripping of the wax, and there were chimes that came in every now and then from distant belfries. I seemed to keep track of those chimes with a peculiar intentness, as if I feared to hear some very remote intruding note among them. Then came the first scratching and fumbling at the dormer window that looked out high above the other roofs of the city. It came as I droned aloud the ninth verse of the primal lay, and I knew amidst my shudders what it meant. For he who passes the gateways always wins a shadow, and never again can be alone. I had evoked, and the book was indeed all I had suspected. That night I passed the gateways to a vortex of twisting time and vision, and when morning found me in the attic room, I saw in the walls and the shelves and the fittings that which I had never seen before, nor could I ever after see. The world as I had known it, mixed with the present scene, was always a little of the past and a little of the future, and every once familiar object loomed alien in the new perspective brought by my widened sight. From then on, I walked in a fantastic dream of unknown and half-known shapes, and with each new gateway crossed, the less plainly could I recognize the things of the narrow sphere to which I had so long been bound. What I saw about me none else saw, and I grew doubtfully silent and aloft lest I be thought mad. Dogs had a fear of me, for they felt the outside shadow which never left my side, but still I read more in hidden forgotten books and scrolls, to which my new vision led me and pushed me through fresh gateways of space and being and life patterns towards the core of the unknown cosmos. I remember the night I made the 5 concentric circles of fire on the floor and stood in the innermost one chanting that monstrous itinerary the messenger from Tartane had brought. The walls melted away, and I was swept by a black wind through gulfs of fathomless gray, with the needle-like pinnacles of unknown mountains miles below me. After a while, there was utter blackness, and then the light of myriad stars forming strange, alien constellation. Finally, I saw a green, lit plain far below me, and discerned on it the twisted towers of a city built in no fashion I had ever known or read, or even dreamed of. As I floated closer to that city, I saw a great square building of stone in an open space, and felt a hideous fear clutching at me. I screamed and struggled, and after a blankness, was again in my attic room, sprawled flat over the 5 phosphorescent circles on the floor. And that night's wandering, there was no more strangeness than in many a former night's wandering, but there was more of terror because I knew I was closer to those outside gulfs and worlds than I had ever been before. Thereafter, I was more cautious with my incantations, for I had no wish to be cut off from my body and from the earth and unknown abysses whence I could never return. Such concludes the reading of the book by H.P. Lovecraft. This story holds a special place in many Lovecraftians' hearts, for it is a tale of how it would be to read the Necronomicon. As many of you might know, and it might be eye-opening to some, the Necronomicon is a banned book, and, as the author stated, this version was from no printing press. There has been several different printing press who have published their own version of the Necronomicon, though it is shrouded in mystery and has not been told in its originality in quite some time. Most know that this story does take place in a time period that has been lost to mankind. The theory is that it was either lost in the burning of Alexandria or it began from an Egyptian prophet during the same time that maybe a version of the New or Old Testament was being undergone on. The Necronomicon also holds a history similar to that of Christianity due to the fact that the book had many people work on it. That is why it has been debunked or untheorized that the versions that we modernly have are even close to holding a candle to the ancient Necronomicon. There's theories that the Necronomicon had to have a sacrifice so great that it had to be wrapped and bound in human flesh, which is incredibly hard to taxidermy with. That care, that prevention, that method is to keep the ancient secrets at bay. The Necronomicon is theorized to hold spells, incantations, and a cryptology of certain monsters that have been documented through several different planes of existence, similar to how dragons have no legs in ancient mythology, but do have legs in European mythology, and are most likely based off of our modern day dinosaur. With these tall tales does come some truancy and truth. Now, my lovely Lovecraftian, this is where you might ask yourself, what knowledge do you theorize or might even hold to this day? As we know, there are different copies of the Necronomicon. Some lie in private collections to this very day, locked and sealed away. But there is no time like the present, so if anyone wants to come forward and has anything to say, please comment below your theories and truths about the Necronomicon, also known as the book. Until next time, my lovely Lovecraftian, bye-bye.